first of all, I appreciate you. You know what I'm saying? For, doing the interview.
For sure.
It means a lot, man. I think that your experience would be a big contributor to, the viewers and, the people, the audience, the young audience that, I'm trying to target as far as, who are, looking for things to become.
For sure.
So, and right now, sky's the limit for them, and the more information, the better off they'll be.
Mm-hmm.
So, I'm gonna start from the beginning.
Okay.
So you born and raised in Detroit?
Yeah, technically, well, not technically. I was actually born in Atlanta, but I don't have any Atlanta memories. We moved when I was like less than 2 years old, so all I know is Detroit, and was there from until 18, graduating high school.
Okay, so you went to elementary and middle school in Detroit?
Yep, for sure.
What elementary school did you go to?
Went to Basic Academy, K through 8, and then went to Renaissance High School.
And Basic Academy was on 6 Mile Green Line. That's the one you went to? Yeah,
well, actually, kindergarten, I actually did Lily Bridge, and then the rest, 1 through 8, I did on Green Line, yep.
Okay, because, they moved Basic Academy to the old Bovian now.
Yep.
Yeah, so that's where my daughter goes now.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
So then, how did you enjoy Bates?
It was cool, man. Like, I felt like I got a chance to have a good set of friends. We were with each other for a really long time, so being able to have those experiences, and I'm still, good friends with, like your brother, for example, and folks like that. And then it challenged me academically as well. So between those two, I feel like it was a good fit, and I was able to go through and learned a lot, met some cool people, and built some bonds, and had a good time along the way too. So it was pretty cool for me.
So Bates is Detroit Public School.
Yep.
How do you feel about the level of education?
I feel prepared. I feel like I was challenged. I feel like I had to be on top of my game. I know that I look back at stuff like academic games with Mr. Holstein. I think of Ms. Gibson, and to this day, my dad he'll quote a word and he'll say it's a VSB word, and I'll be like, it's not a VSB word, because I can still remember some. I'll look at, say, Merriam-Webster. They had their word of the day, mm-hmm. And I saw vicissitudes one day, and I took a screenshot and I sent it to the family group text, and I was like, this is an actual VSB word, and that was vocabulary skill building, and we had those words every week, and it's something that it helps you to build your vocabulary. And so
I still remember my vocabulary words.
Yeah,
Willie Bell's class.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
Yeah, all these years later, man, it teaches you to be on point and to challenge yourself. And I felt like the fact that there was so many other students around us that were competing and trying to be better than they were the day before, it brings it out of you. It's like you raise. It's almost similar to sports, where it's like you raise your level to the competition. It's like, all right, we got to play up, because perfect example, Ms. Gibson class, we had to say our scores out loud. So it's like, if you don't want to say you definitely want to say anything lower than the C, because that's embarrassing. So it's just you want to be on point.
It forced you to be on point.
Yeah, you got to be, because otherwise you're going to be yelling the score, and it's not going to feel good.
I think that was one of our tactics, our strategies.
Yeah, it's and public shaming. There's a debate. You can say what the effectiveness of it, but for me it worked. I wanted to make sure I was saying at least a B, if not higher.
And what was that little corner in our room with
the infraction center, right?
Yeah.
You want to end up in the infraction center, man. Man, it got real. And even I talk about, this is something I quote a lot, because English was always my favorite subject, and social studies as well, but definitely English. And math and science were things that I struggled in. And from 7th grade on, legit from middle school at base through high school, I got C's. I got C's in science and math, and sometimes lower. And it was just, and I even went to tutor sometimes too, and it was just it was something that was a challenge. And so I had to work harder, and I had to just try different things, and it was still just a difficult thing for me. But when I got a chance to write, when I got a chance to play with words and stuff like that, that's something where I really felt at home.
But she used to have you define the word, give the parts of speech, was the etymology.
It was detailed.
Put it in the sentence. Then you do that for each word. Then you take all the words and create a paragraph.
Wow, I didn't even remember all that, but like that, and that's detailed because it's one thing to be able to memorize definitions. It's another to be able to like break down the definition and say like this is where it comes from. This is the part of speech. This is what it means, and then it's like okay, so now it's real. Now it's something that's really gonna stick to you, and it's like, oh, okay,
it worked.
Because
it worked. That was a good strategy. Good way of keeping us on point and building our vocabulary.
For sure, because there's a difference between like really learning something and just memorizing.
Exactly.
And it's so important to be able to like really learn it as opposed to, and that's the challenge because a lot of times in school, like I would feel like I was like memorizing a bunch of stuff, but something like that is like it's challenging me to like, okay, like I had to really digest this and I had to really sit with this so like I can really express it and for it to stick with me.
And you had to understand the word to create a real sentence.
For sure, you can't. It's like you can't fake certain stuff, and it's like if you just throw it. It's like you're not showing that you know what this means in this two-word sentence. Like like,
and she's gonna give it back to you
for sure.
For sure. Yeah, I missed that. I missed that, and I probably say that was my best English teacher in my whole life. For sure. So were there any other any other highlights at Bates that kind of helped you along the way?
I could definitely think about like Bates Battle with Mr. Yee and just.
So what is Bates Battle?
Bates Battle was a game show, Black History Month. We would get a list of questions. It was like a few hundred, I think. Like it was a lot of questions, and that was something where it was memorization. But it's like you're learning about these inventors and these people that have done these great things, and you learn
African American.
Exactly. So you have these black heroes, these people, these ordinary people that have done great things, and you're learning about what they've done, and you're competing in the game show format like a Family Feud or like a, like probably like a Family Feud. And so it's teams of maybe 4 or 5 and you're competing and you're trying to get them. And it's one of those things where it's like, it's competition. You get a chance to learn, you get exposed to just all these things. And it's just like, you feel just some sense of pride and appreciation for like the folks that have come before you and that have laid this groundwork. And it's just like, damn, like, it's a lot of us that have done some really cool things and some really impactful things. Like you think about Garrett Morgan and like the stoplight, and it's just like, yo, this is an everyday deal. Like you think about who's it, Jan Matzlinger, I think, with the shoe lasting machine. So and that's just I remember that from 7th, 8th grade. And so
McCoy and
the cotton gin, like all these things is like we talk about the gas mask. It's just so many, Mary McLeod Bethune, like so many things, so many people that have done some just really impactful things, and it gives you a sense of pride. It gives you there's also like some wonder there too, where it's just like possibilities. And you were talking about the young people and what they could become and everything like that. It's just like that exposure and just knowing that something exists is such a big thing because it's like, until you see it, until it's tangible, you don't really know. So like, you can learn something, or if you do learn something, it's like, oh, okay, like you just open my mind up to another possibility. Like, for example, it's like, okay, like you play basketball. It's like, all right, so I could play basketball, I could coach basketball, I could be a scout, I could be a trainer, I could be a film person, and there's all these roles. I could be a front office person, and there's all these roles that you might not be aware of when you're a kid and you dribbling, and it's like everybody has hoop rings, like damn near, and so that's fine, like that's cool, but it's really hard, and so just knowing like, oh wow, like there's other, like I can do this and I can still be involved in the game, but just in a different way, like just getting that exposure and and just knowing that possibility, like it's such a big thing.
Yeah, it's huge.
Yeah.
It's huge, and especially getting it in middle school.
Yeah, exactly.
That was impactful.
Yeah, for sure. Like, I mean, just look at us. We was able to rattle off some stuff from way back then, and like it was nothing. Because again, like it's something that stuck with us. We did it through those years, and it's just like, man, it's just like you make learning fun, and you add some competition to it. Like come on, man. Like it's hard to beat that.
Yeah. You actually learn.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So, from middle school, Bates Academy, you went to Renaissance High School?
Yep, went to Renaissance.
And how was that experience?
It was cool, man. I got in trouble a lot, and it was really like just my parents. They just had a certain expectation, and like I would get. They were like it was an A and B deal, and that's what the bar was, and like I would get too many C's, and so like I'll end up on punishment a lot of times. That or just like talking in class and stuff. And look, in retrospect, I think like maybe I was bored, or maybe I wasn't, or maybe I needed to learn a different way, and maybe it was some things we could have done differently then. But it's like that's me knowing that removed from it at the time. Like maybe I was just cutting up, maybe I was being a distraction as opposed to like handling my business, but it was still pretty good. Like I got a chance to. I feel like I learned quite a bit. I felt like I was prepared for college, and just had some good times, like just with my homies, with my guys, and my friends and everything. And I remember playing football. Like I played JV and I played varsity. I rode the bench mostly, but I was able to contribute a little bit. But just like around this time of year, like this is when teams start training camp, and it's like I haven't played since senior year of high school, but it's like around this time of year I kind of just I get that feeling. It's like it's in the air. You get that itch a little bit, like, and I miss like just the camaraderie of being around like my guys and the inside jokes and just the different things, and even just like world events and stuff. Like I remember talking about the blackout recently that struck the East Coast, and it was just like, oh yeah, like we was at practice. Like I remember summer workouts, walking through the building and just thinking like, oh, okay, like the power's down in the building, not really thinking or knowing how real it was until like I got to the house and everything. And it's just like these moments, and they just shape you and they stick with you.
Yeah, you'll never forget that.
Nah, not at all, man. Like at 9/11, another thing, like I remember, being in the class and somebody coming in and saying like, turn on the TV and the whole thing, and just the solemnness of the day, and just how just weird it was and eerie, and like people leaving to go home, and just it was a trip. But it's like those life moments, and then you have like just the fun stuff too. The homecomings, I see the photos. I see my straight backs in 9th grade when I had the braids and stuff, and I couldn't get no hang time on the back. It grew big on top, but I couldn't get the hang time on the back. It just like I had like 9th grade homecoming. I had a koozie on. I brought my dad's koozie so like I could look at that and laugh, because like I know I did that. And just the moments, man. You remember those too, and it's love.
Yeah, you don't forget those moments.
No, not at all.
So middle school kind of shaped you for high school, and high school, like you said, prepared you for college.
For sure.
And what college did you go to?
Went to FAMU, Florida A&M, historically black school and historically black college, university down in Tallahassee, Florida. Really cool time, man. It's interesting too, because looking back at the time, I'm from Detroit. I've gone to black schools. I've gone to a black church. I've lived in a black neighborhood. My whole experience has been black. And at the time, I was thinking, I was like, oh, well, I don't really have to go to a black college, like, because I've had this black experience and I'm a black person, but not thinking about that we're not a monolith. And one of my favorite professors, Dr. Natalie King-Pedroso, who was like my freshman composition professor, she would always say like, we're not a monolith. And that was something that was good to hear and to really sink in, because it's like, it was like my freshman year roommate, my guy Chase, like he was from Jamaica, like, and just so many people from either the islands or overseas, or just from the South or the West, or different, like even the difference between somebody being from Chicago versus Detroit, or somebody being from Atlanta versus Houston versus, the muck of Florida and like Belgrade or whatever it is out LA, or just getting introduced to all these people, these various cultures, upbringings and everything. It was really dope, and it was a good eye opener. Like, oh yeah, like just because you've had these experiences before, like we're not one thing. And so just getting that experience, getting that like family. I remember my brother came to visit me one time on campus, and him just saying like just the family love was real. Like he could feel it, and it was like he was embraced. It was like, oh, this is your brother, like this is our guy then. And it was just, people really showed love. There was really a concern, and like professors, like even in the big lectures would be like maybe, you know, a couple hundred or something like that, but it wasn't anything like a Michigan State would probably be or anything like that. But then the smaller, like more major classes or different things like that, that would be, you know, similar to a middle or high school where it'd be like 30 something people or something like that, or even less. And it was just that it really was a familial thing, and it's something I appreciate, and I miss, you know, just those times of being able to have those bonds and building those relationships with folks, and again still have just good friendships, good relationships from those times, and grateful like I was able to have that experience. Another thing, again, it's like our school motto is like excellence with caring, and I mean before I even got there, somebody showed that for me. Like at the time it was the 1,600 point SAT, and so it was like the scholarship for tuition was, I think it was like a 3.0 and a 1,200 score. So I had like a 3.2, 3.3, and I had an 1190. So by right, I'm short of the mark.
Right.
So I mean, over 5 you round up, but I mean I can't. It's, you know, this is day money. Like I can't just be like, it's like I didn't meet the mark. But whoever I was talking to, God bless them. I wish I knew who it was so I could like thank them and just say how they changed my life. Like they were working with the scholarship department, and they bumped me up. Like they were like, hey, I know it's supposed to be 1,200. You're at 1,190. Like we gonna make sure that you get this scholarship because you come from out of state, so it's gonna be more. You've done, you know, you have your grade point average is high enough, and I'm just like, wow, like I haven't even stepped a foot on campus yet, and I'm already getting this love that I'm not gonna get at a, you know, predominantly white school more than likely. So just moments like that,
you gotta appreciate
it. You appreciate it, man, because it changed my life. Like it's, you know, I come from, I'm not well off. I definitely didn't struggle. You know, my parents were both working and college educated and everything. So I was very lucky in that regard, and I didn't have to want for anything. But also we didn't have it. Like it wasn't like they could just cover tuition for 4 years for out of state.
6 figures just put up.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it just wasn't like, oh, we'll write a check and you good. It was like, I'm gonna have to take out some loans. I'm gonna have to, you know, figure it out. And it was like, for me to be able to get full tuition was a big thing.
That's huge.
Yeah, it's huge. A huge financial burden lifted off.
That's huge.
Yeah,
that's big, man.
Yeah. So
we talking savings, 6-figure savings.
Straight up, over 4 years. Like, man, it makes it. And again, just being fortunate, like, cause I had friends that had to work crazy hours to be able to support themselves and to help defray their tuition costs, and still might have had to take out loans and different stuff like that. So, you know, I don't take it lightly at all.
Nah.
You know, and so just trying to make the most of the opportunity and make sure I prove that person right. The lady that felt so inclined and thought in our robbery to help me get that opportunity, like, God bless her. I'm thankful to this day, and I just you just try to make sure you represent and do what you came to do.
Do right by the people who looked out for you.
Exactly.
Because she didn't have to do that.
Not at all. Again, like I'm not. It's 1,200. I'm at 1,190. I didn't hit the mark. I'm close, but no Cuban. Like I'm just under. Yeah. But she showed love. So God bless her. I'm super thankful.
What did you major in?
I studied broadcast journalism. It was between broadcast journalism and business. I was trying to decide between those. And broadcast journalism, I was thinking I would be like Stuart Scott, God rest his soul, Robin Roberts. I was like, I wanted to be on air, be, you know, a sports anchor or something like that. But then when I got into my TV classes and that red light would come on, I would freeze up. I was never comfortable. Professor Jones would write on my evaluations, like, loosen up on your stand-ups. And so I was like, man, I'm not really comfortable being on camera, but how can I still be involved? So it was like, okay, I can do behind the scenes.
Right.
I could do the editing. Writing was always something I enjoyed, going back to grade school, and then also was working with the school paper by that point as well. So I worked on the sports desk there. So that was always something I had like in my tool belt and everything.
That was the name of the paper?
No, it was the FAMU.
Oh, FAMU.
The FAMU, yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
So you did the sports?
Yeah, I worked on the sports desk. I worked it as an assistant editor, and then I eventually was able to be section editor for a semester as well. So it was a good learning curve, man. Just trying to, cause we published 3 times a week, so just trying to fill those pages. And one of my people, she was I can't remember what section she worked on, but she was on the staff with us as well. And she would tease us because on Wednesdays we would have to pull like AP stories, so it would be like off the wire. And she would be like, Hot Wire Wednesday. And this is just like, here she go again, like messing with us. But it was just like, you got to figure it out as far as coverage. And so, it was tough, trying to get them pages and everything. But it was definitely a dope experience. And just having to call people, having to track people down, having to wait people out and all that kind of stuff. Like it definitely prepares you for life and also just the business as well.
Yeah, so you got real experience.
Yeah, and that was the thing. Like, and our professors, they said it, and you definitely figured it out once you were in it. It's like it's one thing to get the knowledge in class, and that helps you. That gives you that foundation. But it's another to have to, for there to be some type of crime story you're working on, and you need to get a quote from the public information officer, or there's the head coach got fired, and our professor was he had somebody that was gonna be in a trustee meeting that gave him a heads up. So it was like, okay, once he got the call from them, we could run it. And so this is from our radio class. So again, this is just a thing of like,
was that a real thing?
It was a real thing, yeah. Ruben Carter, who used to play for the Broncos back in the day, the Orange Crush defense. Yeah. His son, I think, I want to say his son made the pros too. But so he was the head coach. And Professor Miles got the word. It was coming down. And so we used to have a rotation as far as like anchoring the newscast. And for whatever reason, I think the person was out or something. And it was just like, okay, like who wants to anchor? And it was like crickets. And so I was like, all right, I'll anchor. And so, and this is before we knew like everything else. So like I basically like walked into a Florida AP award just because I raised my hand. Like it was an opportunity, and I was like, all right, like I don't mind, just filling in. And that was the thing. It's like we broke the news. Like, like we had it, we recorded, and then when Mr. Miles got the go ahead, breaking news bumper, 90.5, Coach Ruben Carter has and we broke the story.
Wow.
Yeah, so I was able to win a Florida AP award because I raised my hand anchor that day, and Mr. Miles had a contact inside the trustee meeting.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So what is a Florida AP award?
So Associated Press.
Yeah.
Yep. And so they have just different categories for student media, and that was the radio news, breaking news segment. So we ended up breaking it. Our school submitted it and ended up winning, so it was pretty cool.
So you received the award of the whole.
Yeah, like I got like a plaque. I don't know where it is right now, but I got a plaque. But it was dope, and it wasn't always moments like that, but it was definitely, just you learn. It's like you get the foundation, and then it's like, okay, we got to really apply it. We have to, if we run this story in the paper, we're gonna have to answer to somebody. Perfect example. I wrote about our band, now the March 100 is, if people don't know anything else about my school, they know that. Right. So they're very much a sacred cow. And I wrote about our band and how the homecoming halftime show was too long because the football team got penalized. Which in retrospect, I don't know if I'll still write it, but again, it's not about playing favorites, it's just about like calling what you see. And so like I wrote the column, it goes to publish, and then it's an opinion piece, so it's got my face on there, it's got my mugshot, and like somebody approached me on campus, it was part of the band, like, hey man, like you wrote this piece about us. And he did he didn't mean no harm or nothing, but he did have to come see me. And we had a conversation. He yo man, you talking about we was on the field too long and da 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 da. He pretty much read me the riot act. And I just stand there hey man, I hear you, but to me it's if you hurting the team, I know y'all the game. I know halftime is game time and shout out to Drumline and all that. But at the same time, it's now they started at a 15-yard deficit because of something the band did. I'm still thinking I'm a sports person, and so I'm definitely thinking along those lines. But it's
I think that's an HBCU thing.
It's definitely
that wouldn't happen at a Power 5.
It's. They definitely clear the field if they're in Ann Arbor or East Lansing.
Oh, absolutely.
Or so, and I mean, it's God. I mean, the band is a big reason.
No, they're legendary.
Yes, perfect example. Detroit Football Classic, RIP. It existed, and that was my intro to FAM. They had a senior day where they brought us down, and it was a ballroom or something downtown, and they had the band come in. They had the choir. They had the Essential Theater. So it was all these arts. And we got a chance to get exposed to the school.
That's when Kwame brought them down. Right?
Yeah, it was. I think so. I know Robert Porcher was a big part of it.
Yeah.
So Kwame may have been involved. I'm not sure, but Robert Porcher was for sure a big person. And I'm just yo, this is where it's at. And so just getting exposed to that, and then going to the game and everything, feeling the atmosphere, and and to the point of just the God ordained and also some luckiness too. I went to FAMU sight unseen, which in retrospect that was ridiculous. I needed to at least step on campus to see if I could envision myself there, but it worked out.
Yeah.
So but yeah, I was just man, this.
Yeah, I did the same thing. I signed with Lincoln. I ain't even go on campus. I just signed and it showed up.
With your bell, hey, let's get to work.
Yeah.
Hell, you on here?
Yeah.
I'm home, baby.
Yeah, I think I took a visit after I signed.
Okay.
Yeah, so it was just see what the locker room looked like in the campus.
Oh, it's gonna be right here. Okay, what numbers we got in circulation?
Yeah, that was it. So I feel you on that. I feel you on
this
that.
This the CAF, this the administration building.
Okay, it wasn't any students there during that time.
Okay.
For real, so it was. I mean, I couldn't even get the vision of what it would look like. But hey, it worked out.
It worked out, bro. It worked out for both of us. Yeah.
So, how long did you stay at FAM?
I was there 4 years. Yep, I was able to get out on time, and it was also partially a scholarship thing. It was the money finna run out. I gotta be on point. So my last semester, I took some ungodly amount of class. I think it was at least 18. I think it might have been 20 hours, which madness. Needed to do some summer school, and that was the thing. I took a summer school class, but I wasn't on point. So I didn't get the points for my astronomy class that I was taking locally. Mm-hmm. And it's dang, I done wasted my mama money, and I still got to take a science requirement, and it's just but it's one of them things. So it's just I had to load up so I get on time because my scholarship finna end spring semester. So but I was able to get out in 4 though.
So, were you involved in any internships or anything during that time?
Yeah, that was, again, along with the student media, the internships were just paramount as far as just getting me right. I was able to intern with the Michigan Chronicle. Shout out to them. Just getting a chance to work with a Black Weekly, and I was doing sports coverage, but then I was doing some general assignment news stuff as well. So it was just a good chance to get my feet wet and get a wide variety of stuff. So that was dope. And then also with Channel 7, working with their sports department, getting a chance to work with people like Don Shane, rest in peace, Reggie Hall, who was the producer, rest in peace to him, and just getting a chance to work there and see what it was like to put a newscast together and the highlights and everything. That was really helpful. I got a chance to do a couple Sunday shadowing at Channel 4, so shout out to Randy Henry because he was able to help make that happen for me. And it was funny, when I saw Fred McLeod the next summer, who was a long time anchor with Channel 4, he was with Channel 7 and he called me a traitor. So we had a laugh about that. So that was cool. But yeah, so I was able to have those experiences. The Chronicle and WXYZ, like I did in the same summer. So that was like an interesting thing where I was like, man, I was working for real, but it was dope just to be able to get those experiences.
So your internships were back in Michigan?
Yeah, they were back home. Yeah, I did internships back home. It was, I mean, if I did it again, I might have done something out of state, but the thing with that too is then you got to figure out housing and everything, and if you're making enough. So, you know, thankfully I had a place to go. My folks, you know, would have me, and I was able to do that. And I was able to get paid from those too, so I was able to bank a little bit of money as well.
Sweet.
And that's the thing too, because like, and I mean, it's a problem. It comes up every so often. Politics and journalism in particular, it's gotten better on the journalism side, but there's a lot of unpaid internships, and even more so then, like it's gotten a lot better now, but it just puts you at such a, you're only gonna be able to have people that can afford to work for free. Wow. And that's not us a lot of times. And so that just makes it hard, and that's why the newsrooms look the way they look. That's why political offices look the way they look, because it's only people that have the means to be able to work for free. And so thankfully I was able to live with my folks. Thankfully I was getting paid a decent, I was getting paid something.
Yeah, you was getting paid.
Yeah, I was getting paid. And so, you know, it's still hard. I mean, music is a lot of unpaid internships in music. Like it's a difficult thing, and it's just, and I know people talk about paying dues and everything, and that's well and good, but at the same time, it's like,
you gotta live.
I gotta live. So it's like, okay, if I'm doing this thing unpaid, I gotta make some money. So that means I'm waiting tables. That means then I'm up till whatever time. Then I gotta either drive or hop on a train if I'm in New York City or something or somewhere. And that's difficult. And I mean, yeah, you gotta sacrifice and everything too, but it's like also it should be more doable to be able to do it. Like if you it's like, yo, give me a chance.
You don't need a full salary.
Yeah, just enough to live. Yeah. Let me put a rent over my head. Let me put a roof over my head. Be able to pay some rent. Be able to eat some meals. Yeah. Like nothing fancy, but like let me be able to get 3 square and keep the lights on.
That's it.
Yeah, it's a reasonable thing.
That's a strong point. You know, that's not mentioned a lot.
It's not enough, and it's. I mean, they'll show the Washington D.C. like there'll be like a staff. They'll show a staff photo, and it's just like nothing but white kids or young adults, and it's just like, man, like part of the problem is people can't sacrifice because they don't have the means to be able to work for free for an entire summer. Yeah. And if they don't have somebody, if they don't come from money, then they gotta do something else. Yeah. And you lose some great people that can help effectuate change because they didn't have the means to even get on the ground floor.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's not discussed enough.
No, I mean,
that's not discussed
for real.
So. How long were you doing these internships?
So they were for the summer. So it would be like a few months from maybe, let's see, I finished school like end of April, and then they were starting like May or June and then run through August. So usually 2-3 months, something like that. Just the duration of the summer, pretty much.
And so how many summers of internships did you do before you kind of landed your feet on something?
So I think it was 2, because I did the Channel 7 WXYZ and the Michigan Chronicle. That was 1 summer, and then the year before that was I believe WDIV was the year before that. And I also was able to do some radio stuff too with Leland Stein. Shout out to him. He put me on the radio before I even took a broadcast class.
What radio station?
It was GPR. Yep, He had a show on, I think it was Sunday nights. And so just shout out to Stein because he ain't had to do that. And, you know, again, somebody showing love, somebody is like, hey, this is somebody that's interested, this is somebody that's trying to break in, and they just give me an opportunity, and I'm forever grateful, and I always try to pay it forward, you know, because I'm only where I am because somebody else, you know, gave me a look or gave me an opportunity.
Absolutely. Yeah. So when did the big break come?
So the big break was I was able to land a freelance position with NFL Films. Again, this is I mean, I'll be honest. Like, it was partly knowing somebody, and it was partly having a skill set. I could be cousins with Obama, but if I don't have the skill set to be able to help what he got going on, it's not necessarily that I can get hired. So I had the skills as far as broadcast, as far as the writing and the production and the editing, and also a family friend, my guy BJ Hill. He one of his teammates from college used to work there, and so he put me in touch with this guy Kenan. And Kenan was able to help me get in touch with the people at Films, and that helped get the ball rolling. It was like, all right, I just need somebody to be able to move my resume up the stack so I don't just get lost in the shuffle. And so it's like I had these experiences. For our senior project, we had to co-produce a mini documentary. So I was able to have that. I was able to have my clips from working on the school paper and working with the Chronicle. So I had all this stuff. I had all these experiences. And that helped me get me in the door, and I was able to work for a season with them. And so then my term ended like that January. It was actually right after my birthday because I remember I went to D.C. for Obama's first inauguration, froze my butt off, then came back to Jersey. And or like right before that, I can't remember the timeline, but I got the call from like my manager that like my term was ending, and I'm like, dang, I can't get to the Super Bowl? Like, the Super Bowl 2 weeks from now. Y'all like, I was like, and it was just like, yo, it's done. I'm just like, dang. And that's really how the business can be. And so I was done. I remember my last day was like January 23rd. And I was eligible for unemployment. So I was doing that. I was looking for work and stuff too. And then that March, money was tight. And then it was like, all right, I need to get back to the crib. So I moved back home March of 2009. And I was home from March till that summer, and then I ended up getting hired back full time. It was June 2009, and I moved back full time to South Jersey then.
So what was the reason for them letting you go?
Well, it was a temporary position. It was only a seasonal position. So it was from, August, September to maybe up to the Super Bowl, but ended right before it. So it wasn't a full-time gig at that point. I did end up getting hired back full-time, but at the time it was a freelance seasonal position.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like anything. I mean, it wasn't anything other than it being temporary.
Yeah, it was just temporary. It was temporary.
You worked in Jersey.
Yeah, I was in Jersey.
NFL Films?
Yep, NFL Films, right in Philly backyard, like 20 minutes from the Philadelphia city line, in the burbs of Mount Laurel, New Jersey. So I was there up until a couple years ago, actually, and it was really cool. I got a chance to get a chance to meet Steve Sable was a dream, because like I remember watching NFL Films Presents. I remember watching the game recaps and everything, follies and under the helmet and all that stuff as a kid with my pops and everything. So to get a chance to meet a guy that brought such joy and to help bond me with my dad. It was cool, and he was just this dude would wear swim trunks to the office sometimes. Like he chilling, man. And he was so cool. Like I got a chance to I remember the night I met him, again, Obama, it's interesting. I was at the office. This was my first year, so I was freelance, and they had the speech in Denver, the nomination speech on in the conference room. So I just went in there to check it out. He's in there with my guy Ken, who is still the producer to this day at Hard Knocks. And I get a chance to shake Stable's hand, and it was a trip. Once I told him I went to FAMU, he starts rattling off the names of all these like rattlers. So he talks about Bullet Bob Hayes, he talks about Willie Gallimore, he talks about Ken Riley, and he just named Nate Newton, like all these greats that played at FAM, and it's tripping me out because I'm like, dang, Willie Gallimore. I'm like, Gallimore Lanes. Like I knew like the bowling alley was named after him, but I didn't know like, hey, this dude used to play for the Chicago Bears back in the day, and just stuff like that. And it was just like, man, like it was really dope, for him to have that insight and to already have that loaded, as I'm meeting him for the first time.
His stuff.
Yeah, he did. Like, and it's it's something that's been they one of the taglines is like keepers of the flame, and it's like this is who keeps the historical documents of the league, and it's been I mean, obviously it's been such a key part to what's helped grow the game because, I mean, even right now, they got the quarterback series on Netflix, and like that's been a big hit, and is you got somebody as good as Patrick Mahomes on there, and then you have even somebody like Kirk Cousins, and I see like Kev on stage like saying like I know quarterback on Netflix is great because I care about Kirk Cousins, and it's like that's the magic of NFL films, man, being able to tell those stories.
Yeah, so you officially became a part of NFL Films in 2010?
2009.
2009.
2009, yep. And then I was there till 2021. That's when I got laid off.
Okay, so during that time, you won a few Emmys. Yeah.
I won 3 actually for working on the production staff of Hard Knocks, which is nuts. Like it's I mean, they really exist. Like the same. I mean, not the same, but it's like Quincy Brunson. Emmy, like I got a sports Emmy. She got one for prime time, but it's like it's the same trophy. Like it's wild.
So I don't know. You're the only person I know that ever had it that has an Emmy. And so does everybody that produces gets an Emmy?
Yeah. So and that's the thing. I didn't realize that they. I mean, I guess I should have known this, but like they do have to pay for them. So it's like they have a list of however many, and then they order these amounts. So like I know the full-time production staff, and probably the freelance too, because like it's people that like really contribute and everything, and they just don't have the title or whatever. But yeah, I don't know how they determine what it is, but like yeah, they order X number of trophies for the department, and yeah, so I think we get them. I feel like the camera crew has to because they're such a key part of it and the sound and everything, but I'm not sure. I feel like they have to. If they don't, that's criminal. Yeah. But yeah, like and that's the thing. It's such an all hands on deck thing where you got directors, you got field producers, you got camera people, you got sound people, you got just all these folks that are helping put this together. But then you also have people back in the building. You got people ingesting the footage, getting it online to be able to, so you can see it. Then you have people clipping it, so it's easier for, the main segment producers to work with and everything. So it's just, I mean, it's truly a team effort, and that's something I actually struggle with because I'm like, I didn't play this huge role on it. I wasn't doing like these big segments, but it's like everything counts, and we all got a part to play. So it's like even if I just did this thing where I'm looking at the footage and I'm clipping it so that the segment producer has something smaller to work with and it's easier for them to digest, that helps move the needle, that helps move the story along, and there's something to be said for that. So it took me a while to be able to kind of embrace it, but it's just like, yeah, man, like you was on the team. Like if it's a football team and it's the first man, or if it's the 53 man, he's still a part of the team. So it's like you get a ring, like, and it's
yeah, absolutely,
yeah. So it's like, all right, well, yeah, like I was part of a winning team, and I did my part to help contribute.
And Hard Knocks, what teams were you all filming during that time?
Yep. So as far as the ones that won Emmys, it was the Jets, the Bengals, and the Bucks, I believe. So the Jets, and they'll actually be featured this year. The Jets, it was Rex Ryan, who was TV Gold. Yeah. They had Bart Scott. Oh. They had Revis, and it was a Revis holdout, so that was a big thing. That was like the biggest story probably. And then they had like Sanchez, and so they had these cast. LaDainian Tomlinson had come over, Jason Taylor. So they had these cast of characters. They had these like key vets, and then you had this star cornerback that's holding out, and you got this head coach that's a character, and so. I mean, it was a recipe for success, and it's our job not to get in the way. Like, you don't have to. Sometimes you gotta, put some tricks, or you gotta cut something up or make it prettier than what it is. And sometimes you just gotta get out the way. And it's like if it's Rex Ryan, you get out the way. You show the speech.
Just let him talk.
Yeah, just let him do the chop. Like do the eat a snack speech. Like it's something that still gets played, and it's so. I mean, it's funny and it's like, oh man, this dude's interesting. He's having a good time. It's like and to this day, like I feel like if they know, maybe people know him from ESPN or his work on TV and stuff, but I feel like people that have any familiarity with him probably know him from that run on the series as well.
Yeah. The non-sports fan.
Yeah. And that's the thing. Like I know people, like some of my friends that like, and some of my people that watch Hard Knocks that like don't watch football or not into sports at all. And it's like, yeah, it's interesting because it's a human story.
It's like a reality show.
Exactly. That's exactly what it is. It is because you're getting a chance to, and that's the thing. Like over time, the players and the coaches and the staff, like they get used to having the cameras. So you get them real moments, and it's like, oh.
Yeah, I think that's what made the show so good.
Yeah, access is such a key thing, and that's a credit too to the staff in the field because they have to build those relationships. They have to build that trust, and it's like, okay, I know that you're gonna try to show us in the best possible light, and I know too, like before this makes air, we're gonna get a chance to look at it as a team. And teams
they get to
so they can if something's sensitive as far as like competitive stuff, like X's and O's and things like that, and then if it's sensitive too, just as far as like internal relations and things like that, they get a chance to veto it. And that can be a challenge just because obviously, you know, you have the show and you got a vision and you want it to be a certain way but sometimes it's like, hey man, y'all got to take this out, and if y'all don't take this out, it's gonna be a problem type of thing. Now, I haven't been privy to those conversations, but it happens. Yeah, it definitely happens, and I mean, teams have let stuff go that I've seen, and I've been like, oh wow, like I'm surprised like that made it, like somebody getting cussed out like that, or some, you know, just some. There was a guy, I can't remember his name, but he played for the Browns. He used to dang, I can see his face. But Kendricks. His last name was Kendricks. He's got a brother in the league too. I think it was Michael. But like he was about to have to do some time for like some insider trading or something, and like they talked about it, and like it was like a real discussion, and like that made the show, and it was just like, oh wow, like because and I mean certain stuff is like it's so important or so big. It's like if it doesn't make it, it's gonna be kind of weird. It's gonna be like, hey, we know y'all like propaganda, but it's like, come on, dog. Like you can't hide too much. Yeah. And that can be tricky too sometimes because it's like, it's not a news organization. It's somebody that's there to promote the league. Steve Sable, he would say like, we're not journalists, we're romanticists. So, and then that could be a thing because it's like, oh man, y'all didn't keep it real about this, and it's like, nah, we didn't. It's. And I mean, and it's been some fair criticism, like some situations where it's like, oh wow, like if this was, you know, somebody else, they might have handled it differently because they're not a part of the league's production arm. So, yeah. So
it was any teams that vetoed a lot?
I'm not sure. I know I will give you one. I know that. So Rex, obviously, he was a character, dropped a lot of curse words, and his mom objected to his language. And so he like, I guess maybe from conversations with the directors or the film producers, I'm not sure, or whatever, but word got back to Mount Laurel, and like the senior leadership was like, okay, like we gotta be mindful of, it's like, how many MFs do we use? And like, so they would it was like a thing they was aware of. And it's funny because it's just like, man, this expression, this language, especially like in a heated battle or, you know, the game or something. But I mean, he want to make his mama happy, so like I respect that too. But it's kind of funny. It's not something you would expect. Where it's like
Rex Ryan,
like bro, I'll give you a call. Like, hey, I didn't teach you all that salty language. Like, so that's something that like, it was a thing. Like where, yeah.
That's hilarious.
It's nuts, man. And you never, and that's the thing too. Like you never know what, because it's like we'll get the notes, or I won't get those notes. But like say when guys are mic'd up, you submit like a reel, and the team can make deletions similar to like Hard Knocks, like they can take stuff out. And so like if I'm looking at something, I'm like, oh, he said this to a coach. It was a conversation, but like they weren't yelling. It didn't seem like a big deal. They didn't seem to reveal anything for a strategy. To me, I'm like, oh, that was a good conversation. I could have used that in my piece. I wish I had it. And now I remember I was talking to Kenny Smith, my people. She was telling me like, yeah, it was like, but we don't know the inner workings of the building. So if this person is having this conversation with them and their relationship is rocky, if you put that in a show, like that's not gonna help. And it's like our job is we're not trying to make their life harder by what we do. And I'm just like, oh, I didn't think about it like that. And so just not knowing the behind the scenes of the behind the scenes is just like, okay. And so you know, you just and you gotta adapt. Yeah.
Yeah, that's good to know. So
For sure.
So you awarded 3 Emmys, and that was pretty early in your career.
So the last one was like within the, let's see, it was Bucks. So that was Jameis, that was Mike Evans, that was Deshaun Jackson. So that was like 2018, I want to say. I could be wrong, but the other ones were like the Bengals and the Jets. That was early. That was like 2009, 2010. So it was like my first and second years working full time, which is nuts.
Out the gate.
Yeah, like it's like Dan Marino, I think went to a Super Bowl like his second year or something like that, and then he didn't go back. And it's hard to get there. And like I didn't get another one until, you know, much later. But
8 years later.
But yeah, it was a minute. So
did you in that time from the second one and the third one, did you think you were gonna get another one?
I mean, yeah, because it's like, yo, this is just what it is. It's like the first 2 years I've worked on it. We won.
They're gonna keep coming.
Yeah, this is what it is. It's like, nah, man, it don't work like that. I might not be on the show every year. The show might run up against.
Did they win any?
They won something in there.
They won something.
Yeah, I wasn't on the staff, or I wasn't on the show staff for those particular ones. But it was years too where like if it's an F1 series or something. I don't know if that's, but it was other shows that won, and so and sometimes you come up against, maybe it's your last chance you or something where somebody like it's like, all right, they got us this year, and so and it can happen. So
that's a pretty good series.
You know what? Oddly enough, I still haven't seen it. I've heard a number of great things. I heard about the football and the basketball. I still haven't seen it, but I hear it's great though.
Based in community college.
For sure,
yeah. So that makes it unique.
Yeah, exactly.
Sweet.
Yeah.
So you get your third Emmy, and how long did you stay with NFL Films after that? Man,
it was still a few years later. I think in total I was there like 12 or 13 years, maybe even going on 14 or something like that. So I was there in total. It was that was my, as far as out of school, like that was my only job. Like I worked there. Well, okay, actually. So I worked there. I had the seasonal term. When I moved back home, I was actually a substitute teacher for a month at Old Redford Academy, and that was funny because, like, I had to. I mean, especially if I'm clean shaven, like I got a baby face, and so they knew I wasn't like super older than them, but I'm not telling y'all like I'm fresh out of school. They're like, Mr. Marsh, like what? How old are you? I'm like, look, I'm old enough. Like I'm like, leave me alone. Like I wouldn't answer that. And so, and then it would be funny because they'd be like, Mr. Marsh, you listen to Gucci? I'm like, yeah, I listen to Gucci. I listen to Flocka. They'd be like, so it's like they'd be so taken aback.
Yeah,
but it's just
they always want to know how old you are.
Yeah, and it was a trip too because like I had to stop myself from laughing from sometimes because they'd be trying to run the same stuff we tried to run when we was in school. So it'd be like one person having to use the restroom, and then like a parade of people want to go, and different stuff like that. And it was just like, man, I know these guys because we did the same thing. Yeah. So it was I did that for like a month, and then was back out in Jersey like later that summer.
So did you face any challenges while you were at NFL Film?
Yeah, for sure. It was so one of the big challenges was just the fact that out of a producer's department of 50, 60 or whatever it was only 4 of us. It was only 4 black producers that was full time. And that's when I was there. So even when somebody would leave or get let go, it would still only be 4. We would never go beyond that 4. And there were never any black women. The last black woman, and hopefully it's different now, I'm not sure, but the last black woman there in production that was full time left like right before I got out there my first year. So it was just like, just having them numbers was difficult. And then the leadership too, like the leadership was like almost all white and male and older cats too. So it's just, there was that disconnect there, and it was just challenges there in terms of getting stuff done, in terms of advocating and everything. And then they brought in like an affinity group and they brought in different stuff to try to help, and there was some movement there too, but it felt like some lip service as well, and that was frustrating because it's just like, man, this could be better, and we know it could be better if we do these certain steps and everything, but so it was some challenges, but I mean I had some good times as well. I had some good moments and some good experiences as well. So I don't want to, completely decry my experience or anything.
It just should have been a little bit more diversity.
Yeah, there was definitely some challenges, and it was definitely, I mean, just being honest, like it needed to be better, and we saw, in 2020 when George Floyd was murdered. When Breonna Taylor was murdered, Ahmaud Arbery, and there was this reckoning where people discovered racism, and it's just like, hey, it's been here, and it's been bad, and it's being documented, and obviously this is as bad as it gets, and there's all these proclamations made and all these statements about trying to change things, and it's just like, all right, like you got to show and prove.
So how did you handle it? Like,
it was tough. It was tough. A lot of times I think I would just internalize it. I don't think I advocated as well for myself as I needed to early on. I don't think I built enough relationships as far as like in senior leadership or to be able to learn how things worked, and like I didn't really play the politics game, and that was hard and stuff too. So that was a challenge. And then also like I dealt with depression as well. Just, I wouldn't say completely dealing with that, but I'm sure it didn't help. So that was a challenge as well. So it was tough, but was able to get through, just leaning on the four of us and trying to get through there. And it was some folks too that kind of looked out and showed love and everything. And
were there like, I mean, it wasn't like segregated to the point or was it just cliques or African to black people kind of stuck together type of thing? Or?
Yeah, I mean, like I feel like there was definitely like some like a family vibe there, but I think I was able to get along with different groups as well. People had their groups and the people
like everywhere.
Yeah, exactly. Like the group they would go out to lunch with and things like that. But I felt comfortable, just with a lot of people, and was able to share some cool moments and build some good like rapport and relationships with people as well. So, that was love as well. And I was able to learn from just a lot of different folks and folks, spend some time with me on that level. I got to give my man Greg credit. Like when I first was starting as a seasonal, I was finishing my edits, but like I didn't know like who to tell to like hand them off and stuff. And so on one end it's like, hey, I need to be like speaking up and being like, hey, what do I do with this? But on another, it's like you're responsible for what you know, and it's like ideally somebody's like, hey, when you finish, email this person or whatever. And so like Greg, like he comes into the office, like I'm working out in somebody's office, he comes in. He walks me through like, okay, this is how you post. These are your files. This is who you email. Like he walked me through the process, and it was like, okay, like now I'm getting it. And it's like, yo, thank you, because he saw like, yo, this dude's new. He doesn't know how things go. Like, let me look out. And so there were people like that along the way that show love, and I'm definitely grateful for cats like that, because you remember that, and it helps, and it's all about just trying to look out for each other. It's part of life.
You were there how long?
It was like 12, 13 years, maybe 14.
You did pretty good. I mean, to last that long.
Yeah, it was, and it was some moment, and that was the thing too. Like, it was some moments. Even with my layoff, like I have to like correct people sometimes because they'll be like, oh, they laid you off because of X, Y, Z. And it was like, nah, it was numbers and everything too, but like also I did struggle. Like, they showed some love and some grace when they didn't have to. Like if I blew a deadline or, something wasn't on point or something, like I got a lot of leniency in those ways where like I could have been gone and I wasn't. And so like, I think, like I'm not disillusioned by like what happened. Is like, I needed to be better in some areas and I know that contributed to the layoff. And so like, I'm not naive in that way. And so, and that's part of it too. And just being honest and being able to be real about it. And then also too, just being like, grateful for the experiences that I was able to have. I got a chance to go to 2 Super Bowls and work the Super Bowls. I got a chance to go to a Pro Bowl in Hawaii and bring my mama to Hawaii. I got a chance to work a couple drafts. And like the night after or the day after, it was Jared Goff because he was with the Rams then. But like his granddad like asked me to get him a paper, and so like because his grandson's on the front page of USA Today, so like I remember those moments. I remember Chris Jones from Kansas City, like his pops, us just from being with them during, because I was like on one of the drafts, I was like working with just basically with the families and stuff, and so like just trying to help them out as much as I can. And so like I built bonds, and so like when Chris Jones gets drafted and his pop sees me, he like in the backstage, he gives me like the big hug and everything, because it's like I'm basically part of the family. Now, granted, I don't think he would remember me now, but at the time it was like we had built this bond, like just from being together during the week. And so, and then even with like something like Detroit Loyola, they Rob Beard, shout out to him, Renaissance's own, he had wrote a piece about them and it was in the paper, and so I sent it to the show producer Chris, who ran NFL Films Presents, and I'm like, hey, this is a pretty good story from back home. And he was like, man, he's like, they got a lot of good stuff going on, like let's see if we could pursue it. And so it was in the piece, Rob detailed how they were undefeated in football at the time. They had to do an internship to help defray their tuition costs. You know, academics was obviously part of the equation. And then also they had, so they had the work study thing. And then also volunteering. So like they would be down at the soup kitchen serving. So it was like all these elements at this Jesuit school, and it's like right in the middle of the city. And so it's like, hey, I want to have a chance to, yes, we have these rough things that are true, and that's part of the story, but it's only part of the story. And it's like, let's tell this story about something that's sunny. Let's tell the story about something that's good. And we came, and I was able to help be part of the production team, and it was like a 4-day shoot. And my guy Steve, he was the director, and I was able to work under him, and he had directed some of the Hard Knocks. So, and it was that type of style. It was like we would start early in the morning and be going to the end of the night. One of our guys, he stayed on the east side, had to take 2 buses home. We followed him on his route home, and just capturing that is like after he hops off the bus, he's got to take this walk to the crib, and just the sacrifices they were making, and just how real it was and how tough it was.
When did that come out?
Man, I'm trying to remember. I wish I could remember the exact year, but it was. Yeah, I'm not sure.
It was produced and everything.
Yeah. So there was a partnership with USA Football, and we were able to get funding through that, and they did like I think 4 episodes, and that was one of them. And that was the thing too. Usually a presents piece can be, if it's a essay or something, it could be like as short as like 3 minutes. If it's like a segment that's really humming, it could be 10, 12, 14. But that's usually where it tops out, and ours ended up being an entire episode. And so it was a 22-minute show on Loyola, and I got a chance to be a part of that. And so,
sweet. And
to this day, that's one of my proudest things I've worked on, because it's like if I wasn't here, that story doesn't get told, and I got a chance to help shine some light on my hometown.
Yeah,
and it meant a lot. It meant a lot. And so, and to have experiences like that was big. Calvin Johnson. He went. So they used to be. I can't remember what it's called now. It might be called Mic'd Up now, but it went through several versions. It was called Livewire, and at the time it was sound effects, and they would do. It was like telling the story of guys being mic'd. So there was a weekly version, and then there was a best of as well. And I had Calvin Johnson, and Calvin famously is not a big talker. So it was like, okay, I had to get creative on this one, and it's like, all right, I see he's got this thing where he's talking about how he doesn't talk. So I was like, all right, let me use some of that. And then let me use some of when Calvin's like hyped up for him, where he's like trying to, fire guys up. And it's like, so I did like the contrast of that. And then there were moments where he's quiet. So I'm like, okay, he's sitting on the bench quiet. I asked the sound people like, hey, can we put some crickets underneath there? And so they put those in. And then it was like, oh, he seemed to have like a secret handshake for all his guys. Let's do a quick rip of that. Him just giving daps to his guys. So just thinking in terms of being able to flex my creative muscles. And then two is like, oh, okay, it's been X number of people that have been mic'd up checking Calvin. So it's like, okay, I can tell the story of somebody trying to defend Megatron. And you see that, and it's a quote I actually come back to. Malcolm Jenkins, who was with the Eagles and the Saints, he was on and the Lions lost the game, but it was in the playoffs. I think Calvin went for like 200 something yards, and I know it's nuts. And so Malcolm Jenkins is on the bench, and he's like, "Just gotta weather the storm, dog." And that's like, I'll say that to myself if I'm like dealing with something. Like, you just gotta weather the storm, because it's a clip with Calvin, like he lowers his shoulder, like just press through them guys, and it's just like, man, that dude is alone. But I was able, and that was a 22 minute, that was a half-hour program, 22 minutes that I was able to like put together myself. And
oh, sweet.
Yeah, and it's on YouTube, like and so like just being able to like when I'm applying for stuff, like submitting it, and it's just like, man, I can just go right there and send it. It was actually somebody I was messaging with on Instagram, and he does graphics, and he had done like a Calvin thing, and I was like, oh man, I was like, that's sweet. And he was like, yeah, man. He's like, that's my favorite player. And I was like, yo, you ever seen his best of sound effects? He's like, oh man, I loved it. I was like, yo, I produced that. He was like, oh man, for real? I'm like, yeah. So like, it was just cool to like something I did like and he's like based in Canada, and so like, oh, wow. It's just, you never know like where stuff can reach and everything. So I had a lot of really cool experiences as well, in addition to like the real stuff. Yeah. But yeah, I had some dope times,
especially when you play football.
Yeah.
You know sports.
Yeah.
And you can appreciate sports and actually work with them. I bet that's a big dream.
It was, man, because, and that was the thing. Like, I knew the only way I was gonna do it was gonna be something like this, because I obviously wasn't playing beyond 12th grade, and it was like, okay, English is my favorite subject. I love sports. Can I put those two together? And I was able to do that, and so it worked out well.
Yeah, that's what we try to tell you. What are you passionate about?
Mm-hmm.
What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses?
For sure.
What do you like? And create. Visualize your future in something that you passionately love. So
yeah,
you did all that. So that's great. So you stayed until when?
So I got laid off 2021, and then I was there up until last year, and it was again like trying to find work, not able to find work, not running out of money, and I had to make that call, and I had to ask my folks if I could move back in, and it was humbling. I'm grateful I had a place to go. It was also just tough as a proud person, as somebody that's, I'm like, oh, I'm in my late 30s, I'm a man, I'm a black man, just this pride and everything, and it's like the Tim the Tool man, like you feel like it's like, oh, I should be able to handle this, but it's like it's life, and it happens. People get laid off, people lose jobs, people, like, it happens. It's like we run into rough situations, and we rally around each other, and so I'm in a much better spot with it now, but like, because it'll be a year next month from as far as moving back. But I really struggled with it initially, because I was taking it hard. I was feeling like I should have been able to support myself. I was feeling like I should have been able to figure it out. I was feeling like I should have had enough money saved and multiple streams and just all this stuff. And it was just like, hey man, like, you ain't asked for it. Like, it happened. Like, life happens. These things happen. Yeah. And it's just, you just got to roll with it. And so,
weather the storm.
Yep, Malcolm Jenkins, weather the storm.
Weather the storm.
Yep, and so like I got back in therapy. I got back in on medication as far as like dealing with my depression and everything, and that's been helpful. And I've been just reconnecting with friends and family, getting a chance to just do the regular stuff, like getting a chance to go grocery shopping with my people, or go on a run for errands, or like meet up with my god sisters and have dinner with them, or my boys, his parents have an art exhibit open and going to that, or I missed a lot of birthdays, being able to go to birthdays, and now that my friends have children, like they might be there their kids' birthdays and stuff like that, and just being able to have those those milestones and those real moments, and just a regular like, hey man, let's go get lunch on a Thursday, and it's
because you were in New Jersey.
Yeah,
so you missed everything. All your Michigan ties.
Yeah, and I didn't get home a ton either. Like, holiday maybe once a time, but not a whole lot. And so it's just like, man. So even and just being thankful and being like, hey, I'm able to have these moments. I'm able to, just reconnect with my folks and have those experiences. I got a chance to go see Sam J with my mama down at the House of Comedy, and we had a ball. Like, Sam J had us dying laughing, and like she about to drop a new special and everything. And I mean, if it was anything like we saw, it's gonna be the one. Like, and just having moments like that, being able to sit and talk with my pops and everything, and just I'm grateful. I'm really grateful.
So you mentioned depression, and when you were working with NFL films, and up until now. Yeah. When did that start?
So I think it's been at least 10 years, and I think a big part of it was isolation. I can be very to myself. I have like my core group of friends and everything, but I can also withdraw. I can also isolate, and I think there's been studies, there's been all type of articles and everything, books and everything, just in terms of community and how important it is, and how just connecting is just such an essential part of just living. And I didn't do enough of that. I didn't build my relationships. I didn't try to get out and meet. Like, I would go to concerts, I would go to shows, I would go out to eat and stuff, but I wasn't like really, and even like being part of like the alumni group and stuff, like I wasn't doing enough as far as like.
You talking about FAM?
Yeah, FAMU alumni. But I wasn't doing enough as far as like just building my relationships and having these relationships and friendships to be able to lean on and cultivate and everything. And so I think that was a big part of why I struggled, and I ended up taking leave from my job and got diagnosed and everything, and started therapy. And there's been like a couple gaps where I wasn't going, but for 10 years for sure, and it might be up to 12, like just being in therapy and just trying to get well and trying to get better and everything. And just knowing too, like it's one of those things. If it's a chemical thing, it's a life thing. It's not something where it has to be, and it's tough. Like you can know that intellectually and understand, but just the struggles of existing in this in this plane and this flesh and everything. It's like the human condition, and so it can be a challenge still just dealing with it. And so being able to talk to somebody that's unbiased is big. Mm-hmm. Being able to, making sure I'm seeing my people and getting out, because that's the thing too. Like when I was really struggling after I got home, it's like, okay, it's summertime, and I'm not, and that which is the perfect time obviously to be out and about. But then it's like summer rolls into fall and winter, and then when it's winter, I definitely don't want to go out. And I can be a homebody anyway, so it's like it compounds, and then it's just like, oh, I'm to myself. I'm not out. It's cold. I don't want to be out and about. I don't want to be communicating. I don't want to be connecting. And it was hard.
So did therapy that must help?
Yeah. Big advocate for therapy. Been doing talk therapy for a long time, and I'm a big. It's definitely helped me. It's definitely just giving me just being able to take that. Because it's one thing to live it, it's another to be able to bounce it off somebody else. And it's like, oh, after I say it out loud to somebody that doesn't have a lean, one way or the other, it's like, okay, like I'm able to just see it more crystal, and it helps. And so like I'm glad that the conversation is becoming more commonplace. I know a lot of people still talk about that, and of course, like it continue to grow. It definitely needs to still be more like less secrecy or less shame or whatever it is. It could definitely be more mainstream. It could definitely be more, but the conversation is definitely. I remember growing up and it's just not being a thing really. And I
It
grew
wasn't
up,
a thing.
it wasn't a thing. And I mean, obviously people have gone
They
to
think something is wrong with you.
yeah, it's and I mean, like, even because I grew up in a church and I felt like, oh, if I can't take it to God or if I can't talk to Jesus, then like I'm doing something wrong. And I don't think that was like necessarily explicitly said, but that was definitely how I felt. And so for it to be at a point where it's like people are like, oh yeah, like you can have your faith, you can still do therapy, you can still, it's like, yo, you can multi-prong it. So it's like, all right, let's do therapy, let's do, meds, let's do these different things and whatever it is to try to get better.
They say, talk to God here, but sometimes you need somebody to talk back. You need the immediate answer. And sometimes, that can help. Professional help.
For sure.
I know exactly what you're talking about. That was the old school way. Bottle everything up, keep things private.
Exactly.
And just deal with it.
Yeah, strong, silent type, all that stuff. Like Bill Burr, the comedian, like credit to him because he's going, like, he'll talk. I don't know if he talks about therapy, but he definitely talks about just like self-improvement and everything. I feel like he has, but anyway, he has this joke where he's like, you push that down, like it's just it's like a guy as men especially, it's like, hey man, no, like it's important to be in touch. It's important.
But it's not healthy either.
Because it eventually you're gonna blow.
Yeah.
And that's not gonna be good for anybody.
Nope.
And so it helps to have this outlet, and it's just so important. And it, like you said, in terms of like somebody to talk back, is like the same way you can be in prayer and the same way you can communicate with God, like. A therapist is God's child as much as you are, and so like, and they have this training, they have this skill to be able to help you, and so it's like, let's tap into everything available to us.
Absolutely, and the more the more common it's become, it's been a lot easier
for sure
for people to understand.
Yeah, it's so important. It's so important. It's man, it really is.
So are you still doing comedy now?
Yeah, so it's been a minute. I haven't been on stage a ton. The last time I was on stage was a few weeks back. And
when did you start?
I started, I think it was 2017, I want to say. It was actually in the midst of a breakup, and I was like, okay, I want to find an outlet, and I want to do something that scares me. Actually, no, to rewind back, during the course of that relationship, I had started a class, and I didn't finish it because I was like, man, this is more work than I anticipated. Like, I wasn't ready for it. But then it's like, once the breakup happened, I was like, oh, I got something to draw from. Like, this is a pain of some real life experience. And so I took a class then, and it was like, okay, this can help me cope. This is gonna be something different. And I also told myself, like, yo, I owe it to myself to see it through. Yeah. And once I got on stage at our graduation show and got that first laugh, like, I was off and rolling. But yeah, like, I haven't been consistent with it. It's definitely something I want to get back to, but I had some cool experiences with stand-up. I took an improv class as well, and getting a chance to do open mics and do shows and stuff has been dope.
What made you want to do that?
Just wanted to try something different, wanted to challenge myself, wanted to help cope in a healthy way, as opposed to sitting on the couch and just, because food is something I struggle with. So, like, I didn't want to be on the couch binge eating. I didn't want to, just be super. I mean, you deal with the sadness, and but it's like, okay, how can I do something that's different? And it was like, okay, I wanted to try something different. I wanted to help cope, and I wanted to, finish what I had started a few years before. So did you do all that? Yeah. Like, I felt like it was helpful. I was able to being able to take something that's painful and to flip it into some funny is like, it feels like a superpower. Like, it feels incredible. And to be able to take something that's a thought and to make somebody laugh, like, and that's the thing, like, laughter it's an involuntary response. Like, you only laugh if something is funny to you. Right. Like, you can't, like, you could try to fake laugh, but it doesn't work in a comedy show. So it's a real trick. Like, it's a real feat. So It's a trip, man, but it's definitely been good for me.
How many shows would you say you have done?
Man, good question. Good question. Not a ton. Not a ton. Dang, I don't know.
Say like more than a dozen?
Yeah, more than a dozen. Yeah, more than a dozen.
Oh, so you got your feet wet.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I was able to, even to my girl Dottie J, I talked to her actually recently this past week. We were in class together and she gave me my first book show. It was her brother's birthday party actually. And that was a good lesson in like the way things work and what it takes to oh no. So that was my first book show. I'm trying to think. Was there something before then? Anyway, that was my first paid show. And so that was interesting because it was at a hall and there was a party next door and their party was bumping so tough. One of the acts was like asking our DJ to turn the music down and the DJ like, nah, that's them like behind us. Man. Yeah, and so they was going. And so so there was that. That was the thing. They had started music, so people were like dancing, and then they like cut the music off to bring us on. And I'm just like, oh man, you can't cut off the Cupid Shuffle for me to come tell these jokes.
Yeah,
So there was that. We didn't. So we were telling jokes from the dance floor. There wasn't a stage for us. So like that makes a difference too. It's like if the crowd's just looking at you, they're not. It's
looking up.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's like it's an attention thing, or even a like control or command of the room type of thing. And so just seeing that, and then too is like dinner had started, so you hear the clanging and everything. So it was a rough go, and I bombed, but I did get paid. So it was like, hey, it just helped smooth the landing out a little bit. But it was interesting from a standpoint of like, oh, like this is. It can be rough if you don't have these elements to put on a good show. And so it was a good learning experience.
So when you say earlier in FAMU, when you were, in the broadcasting, and you were saying that, you didn't feel comfortable in front of the camera. Are you comfortable in front of the camera now?
I feel like it. Like we've been sitting and talking and part of it's just like our relationship and everything too. But I definitely feel more comfortable than I did then, because I can be outgoing, I can be gregarious, but my like natural state is laid back, chill, not necessarily like the loudest in the room or anything. So, and people can turn it on, obviously, but it took some doing. It definitely took, and comedy was because you talk about public speaking being the number one fear. That's something that cited a lot and stuff. And it definitely has helped me just in terms of being able to come out my shell and everything like that.
The good thing about comedy, you can still be yourself.
Yeah.
And tell jokes the way you want to tell them.
Yeah, and that's the thing, right? Because like I'm not gonna be Chris Rock stalking the stage or just Cat Williams just big. It's more laid back. It's more, at least in approach, like a Hannibal Buress or a Gerard Carmichael, where it's like conversational. It's not gonna be, and it's like whatever works. Like I'm not gonna be somebody that goes really big in that way, but it can still work, even if you have a certain style and stuff. Now, if I'm doing it conversationally, my stuff has to really be on point because I'm not gonna catch people's attention with the act outs and everything as much, and that's something too where it's like, oh, like I really need to like step it up as far as my joke writing, because I need you to be in tune, and I need to get you with the laugh too. So it's definitely a work ethic and a skill to it, for sure,
and a little science to it too.
Definitely, yeah.
You gotta know what works for you, and So out of a percentage of your performances, would you say that you did well more than you did bad?
That's a fair question. I definitely feel I'm trying to be like real and not like, cause I don't want to like boost myself to be like, oh, I was, cause I obviously didn't kill all the time. I mean, my first one was a bomb. It's probably a 50-50, to be honest. It's probably like half and half, but like doing well, killed a few times, and also struggled and also bombed. Like,
have you ever been on stage and thought you didn't do well, and people thought you did well?
That's it. Yeah, one time I performed, and I thought I was just like, man, I didn't feel like I definitely didn't feel like I ripped. I definitely didn't feel like I just did great. I didn't feel like I did horrible, but it was like I didn't feel great about it. And I remember one of my homegirls had come to see me, my girl Danera, and she told me after like, oh yeah, like we didn't want you to get off the stage. And I'm like, what? Like, but I'm grateful, you know. It's like, and you only it helps to have somebody that outside of yourself to be able to evaluate it, because it's like, okay, I can play back the recording, I can hear it, and that's gonna give me something different than just standing up. And also, like, I don't think my homie's gonna lie to me. I mean, she might, but
not like that.
Yeah, it felt real. It was genuine, and she's a real one. So like, it was. I was like, oh wow, like I appreciate that, and it's encouraging. It definitely encourages you.
Yeah, that's sweet.
Yeah.
So you still doing that? You kind of trying to get back on track.
Yeah, gotta get back. Yeah, gotta get back on it. Yeah,
I think that's cool. You know, it's something you gotta have something that you passionate, a little passionate hobby. You know,
for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, and so you were let go of NFL Films.
Mm-hmm.
And you had that year off or whatever. So now what field are you in now?
Yeah, so now I'm doing some copy editing. It's a part-time gig. It's a contract for this business communications firm, and that goes back to my roots too, because like I worked on the sports desk for the FAMU, our school paper, and then I also worked on the copy desk for our magazine, Journey Magazine, down at FAM as well. So I had those experiences, and just, you know, trying to polish it up, trying to make stuff better, trying to make things more clear and make it make sense and catch errors and making it as clean as possible, because, you know, somebody's gonna be putting this out there and it's gonna be their customer base, and you want it to be on point. So if it's a sales email, if it's a sales page, if it's product descriptions and all that kind of stuff, you know, I'm going through it with a fine tooth comb and trying to make sure it's the best thing that's going out to the people.
That's sweet. So
yeah,
what are you looking to do next?
That's what I'm trying to figure out. I know I like telling stories. I know they don't necessarily have to be sports. If I get a chance to inject some humor into it, that's gonna feel good. If I get a chance to uplift and spotlight, especially us black folks, in a really cool way, I know that's gonna be that would be a good part of it. So I know those elements. I wanna find the focus a little more even with that. But I have that as like a big umbrella, and just trying to figure it out from there. And just, you know, I've had some really good conversations with some friends and family, and I might be able to pitch in on some projects with them, and that's been encouraging. But I also, you know, I want one of them to fall too, like where it's like, hey, we got this offer letter, we got this tax form for you, and so like definitely looking at that too. But people have been really supportive. I've been really grateful that folks if they see something they think is up my alley, they'll send it to me. I've had family and extended family, you know, put me in touch with their folks, and just been able to sit down, bounce some ideas, send people my stuff, get feedback and stuff like that. So it can be frustrating at times, but because it's been a couple years, because the copy editing gig it's only part time. Like I'm not getting a ton of hours with that. So sometimes I get just a little disenchanted, and I get just frustrated, because it's just like, man, I want one of these to fall, but I just gotta keep pushing, and so yeah, like I feel like something's gonna break soon. I'm hoping.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah,
I feel like it will, man. It's stuff like that happens, and then like you said earlier, you know, a lot of things are built off relationships, who you know, timing, you know, opportunity. You know, it's so many factors that play into it to get the gig that you want.
Yeah, and I mean,
you can work any gig. You can work a gig, but I'm saying to get through something like you passionate about NFL films, type of passion, it's gonna take a minute. It's gonna, but you eventually land it, man, because you got a good resume and you got experience, and that's the most important. That's one of the first things they ask for.
For sure.
What have you done? So
gotta be able to show and prove. It's like if I was playing this, they put it on tape. Like you gotta put it on tape.
Yeah. Where your game film? Let me see your highlights. Yeah. So, what do you think about social media and Chat GPT in regard to sports, sports broadcasting, journalism, and all that? Like, what are your thoughts on that?
I haven't really gotten into it yet. As far as I haven't tried it or anything. We actually, the company I'm working with, like they sent a statement like, "Hey, just so y'all know, we're not dealing with this. Like, we don't want y'all submitting this stuff using this software and everything," which I get, I understand. So I guess my main thing is like if people use it as a tool, like I know, like I saw Ebro, he compared it to Ask Jeeves, which I just got a kick out of it. I was like, I didn't even think of it like that. But, people are using it as a tool like that to try to get answers and formulate things like that. I think that's cool.
I think that's the best way.
Yeah. But I think if you're using it to actually do the copy and stuff like that, you're going to miss something. Like there's a nuance, there's an understanding that it's just not going to get unless you're somebody that's like had these lived experiences, been able to highlight and being able to just put it into context, from a conversation and everything. Yeah. So
I think it's a tool, a strong tool that you can use, and something to get the ball rolling, like maybe get you a little outline, a brainstorm, a little bit or something like that. But there's no way you can have that thing right for you. Yeah. And you can submit it like it's yours.
Yeah, you're going to miss something.
Yeah, you're going to miss a lot. And it's not going to be you.
Exactly.
It's not going to be you.
Exactly.
It's a combination of people, and they put it together. And it's not all the time accurate. So So like maybe a middle school student could use it, turn an essay about, Abraham Lincoln or something like that. But when you on your type of level, I think it's just as a tool at best.
Yeah, and I actually like one of my cousins. Like I got into it with him because he was like trying to force me to. And it's like, bro, like I'm like, bro, you can't make me use it. Like it was a trip, man.
And you're a writer.
Yeah, like so come on, like I take pride in this. Like, bro, it's a pride thing. I want to, show improvement in it. Like, there's some ego involved too. It's like I want to, it needs to come from me.
It's almost disrespectful.
Yeah, like come on, man. Like this, like you don't know. Like
this is what I do.
Like this is what I do, bro, for a long time at a high level.
Yeah. High level.
Yeah.
So I know, on social media, we follow each other on social media, and I always recognize that you always on top of like every publication. Do you have a subscription to these publications, or do you read everything that comes out? Like, cause everything that comes, you always know about it, and you tweeting it, and you see, you know about all the magazines, sports, athletes, music, all that. So how do you get all that information, and what do you got subscribe? How do you do it?
Man, a lot of it can come from Twitter. Like I'll see links, and I'll either favorite it to come back to it, or I'll email it to myself, or like I'll click it and I'll have like mad tabs open for a minute, like on my phone or something, and then try to get back to it. Like today was a perfect example. It was a piece in the New Yorker on Gretchen Whitmer that I had clicked on like a few days ago, and like I got it, and it was like a nice long piece, and I was able to just sit with it and digest what it was talking about. And then it was also like a piece on Glorilla from like Elle magazine, and I was reading that too. So I think it comes from just having like a very interest, and like just coming from a household where like it was encouraged for us to read, and like after our piano lessons, our mom would take us to the library and we would read and everything, and it was just always something that was important. And so like I think I try to carry it on in that way. Like if I see something or somebody sends something to me, or I just try to be engaged with it. And so like I don't have any subscriptions or anything, but I just
You got Twitter.
Yeah, which is a good resource.
I told somebody the other day, man, Twitter is my news feed.
Yeah.
You know, if you follow the right, sources, you can get all the information you need.
Yeah.
Plus some.
Yeah. Straight up. Like
before it hits the news.
Yeah, for real. Like it'll break.
Yeah, so
when
like
you see
Detroit
it.
News and Free Press are like second, third, secondary, third options for the news.
Yeah.
I already saw it on Twitter this morning. Yeah, so that's. I mean, if you use it right, it could be helpful.
It
Just
can.
like ChatGPT.
Yeah.
What do you, you being in NFL films, what do you think about the ESPN mass firing or letting go all of those employees?
Yeah, it's tough, man. Like as somebody that's been laid off and has been dealing with it, it definitely hits me in a different way. And actually, when that happened, it did dredge up some of those feelings from that day. And it's such a hard thing, right? Like it's business is business, and I get that, but it's also like if we're doing this thing and it's only about the bottom line, then we in trouble.
Yeah.
Like when you start letting go Susie Colbert and Jalen Rose and just all these talented people. And I mean, yeah, like sometimes people get let go, things happen, but it's just like, man, like at what cost?
You let go talent.
Yeah, like these are like top people that have added for a high level for a long time. And it's tough. It's actually really discouraging because I think about, it's almost like I'm in mourning, like for the industry of journalism and just the opportunities and like how it'll look and exist because just so many things are shuttering or cutting back in a major way or laying off or just things are getting merged and then bought up, and it's tough, man. As somebody that just like really enjoys it and appreciates it and loves it, it's just like, it's like, damn, like what is it gonna become? Is it gonna exist? That type of thing. Like I get kind of down that hole, but then it's just like, all right, like what can I was even looking this week, it's like, man, can I pitch in and volunteer with somebody, like a program for high school or college or something? Because it's just like, all right, let me get out this, I don't want to be in this dread space, but it's definitely some concerns there. Yeah, it's tough.
Yeah, that was concerning.
Yeah.
People have been 15 years.
For real, man. Long time.
Yeah.
Folks that have done it, and it's just like, man, obviously it's a business, you trying to make money and everything, but it's just like, all right, bro, like it has to be some type of, the writer's strike and the actor's strike, perfect example is like people want to be able to live and work and have a wage that makes sense. And it's like I don't have all the details, but it's like if the guild is saying we presented this to the suits and it's like, y'all are still getting 98%. We just need this 2%. It's like, yo, you not gonna give them the 2%?
Crazy.
And nothing goes without them.
Yeah.
Like it's gonna be like super duper reruns because it's like there's nothing, like it doesn't exist.
And you being a writer and work for a major corporation.
Yeah.
I know you kind of feel it a little bit.
Yeah, it's just
relate,
yeah, like it's my heart goes out to him, solidarity with him, Union Strong and the whole nine for sure, because it's just like, hey, this is about it's about right now, and it's definitely about the future, and it's like if we gonna do it, it's got to be right, and y'all can't be saying that because it's streaming that, oh, we don't have it's like, okay, y'all gonna keep the numbers secret, but it's like, okay, we gotta figure something out, because like it's a different world and it's a different game, and so it's like people should not be having to they should be able to work a right gig and like that be the gig. It shouldn't have to be 3 and 4 other. I mean, sometimes you do have to do something to supplement your income, but it shouldn't be no 3-4 gigs.
Nah.
When you got a writing gig, because that's hard enough.
Yeah.
And so yeah, man, it's not right, and it's you gotta, like, I'm gonna be on the side of the people for sure, and they gotta come to the table and it's gotta be right, and so my heart goes out to them and I salute them because it's tough, and they seem to be in it for the long haul. So
Oh yeah,
yeah,
it's real.
They like, look, man, like, all right, like we not. I was reading a piece yesterday. Josh Gondelman, who I really enjoy, is a comedian, and he's also, part of both strikes. And this is like, hey, he's like, they think we're gonna fold, and we not. Like that was basically the piece, and it's like, hey, salute, man.
No, absolutely.
Yeah,
they deserve what they're worth.
For sure. Like this is entertainment. This is something you able to bond with your family with,
and it's big money.
Exactly. Like y'all are like when they do the charts with the CEOs and they got the 8 figures, and it's like, bro, you making Steph Curry money, and you are not Steph Curry. You are not LeBron James. You're not Patrick Mahomes. Like you're not putting it on tape like these people. Right. These are the people that's making you the money.
Yeah.
So you can't come off a couple bucks. so we can get this deal done. So we can start season 3 at Abbott Elementary. Come on, man.
Come on, man.
We need Abbott.
Yeah, it's just pure greed. It seems.
Bruh,
greed.
Madness.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
So I always end off my interviews with the question, how important is education to you?
Oh, it's everything. It's everything. It's the foundation. It's like from which we come. It's my parents instilling that love of reading in me, that curiosity. I owe it all to that. Like it gives me a chance. It gives me if I'm in those classes, if I'm getting that training and I'm able to join the student media at FAMU, and then I'm able to work with the Chronicle and Channel 7 and then eventually NFL Films and everything, like it all comes back to education. And that's education in the home, that's education at those schools, and I mean it's everything. Like I owe it all to my folks and my teachers and just what they instilled, man. Like it doesn't go without it. Like it doesn't go without it. Like everything comes from that. It comes from those papers and sometimes them bleeding and having to get them together and improve them. It comes from that layout at the FAMU and in that Journey magazine and just the education there and sitting in class with Professor Jones and Dr. White and having to meet that level and it's so important. It's the key.
Absolutely. Now I did forget one question.
Oh, okay. What's up?
For the young John Marsh that's coming up.
Yeah.
What advice would you give him that wants to get involved in sports, journalism, broadcasting, behind the scenes, may not see themselves making it to the league, but they want to stay involved in sports, but have a passion for writing and journalism? What would be your advice to them?
I would say
him or her.
Okay, yeah, for sure. I would say for that person to start now. I would say just to take where you have. If it's little league, if it's summer league, if it's church league, if you're able to cover it, if it's through your camera, if it's through your phone, if you're going and writing on your tablet or whatever it is, like that's a chance to do it. And so that can give you those reps. You can either, and I mean, maybe you talk to the league people, and just tell them like, hey, I want to just do this for myself, or like I want to try to, publish my own thing. But like you could start now, and then as you're learning, you're able to find some classes and maybe some mentors and things like that. I think starting early is a big thing, and taking advantage is like, okay, I have these tools. I could put it out on social. I could be working on these mixtapes for if it's a basketball thing or something like that. I could be doing highlights and stuff like that. I think that's definitely something big, and I think asking for help. I would definitely say asking for help. That's something I wish I did more. I think that would have helped me out a lot at my last job, and just saying like, hey, can you help me with this, or I need some help with this. Not being afraid to ask for help is big, and just if it's okay to be afraid, but to try to do it scared, and that's a life thing, that's a work thing, that's a that's a love thing. Like it could be any number of things. Like it's all right to feel that fear, but if you could do it scared, then that's gonna be helpful because it's like you only gonna be but so ready for whatever it is. So those are
Even
things.
if you think you're ready.
Yeah, exactly. So those are things that come to mind on that end for sure.
Yeah, well, I appreciate it, man. And, hopefully this is not our last, but yeah, man, I appreciate the insights you gave because that's gonna help a lot of people.
I appreciate you, man.